Press the Drive Delete button and select Advanced Filter in the Drive Mode menu. Choose a filter, take photographs. Partial color orange. Areas of the image that are the selected color are recorded in that color. All other areas of the image are recorded in black and white. Really? This camera can do that? Miniature. The tops and the bottoms of the pictures are blurred for a diorama effect. Hey guys, what's going on? It is my first real video on the X100. I want to tell you a little bit about what I think of it, my first impressions with it. I did want to say from the beginning that my intention of this channel is not to make it a camera review channel. I don't really have a huge interest in getting all the latest, greatest gear, reviewing it and telling you what I think, but I don't have a problem reviewing and discussing gear that I use for my personal work. I'm totally happy to share that and kind of excited about this new camera. But my intent is not to talk specs and all these stuff and be a review channel. I just want to share with you guys the equipment that I use to do what I end up doing. Well, before I get started, I think it's probably appropriate to have a little disclaimer. If you watch this channel for a while, you know that I've been shooting for a long time. I started in the film days, and to me, when I started my professional career, a camera was not much more than just a light tight box with a hole in it and an ability to control how long the light came through that hole to make your exposure. So I've done a lot of work professionally with fully manual cameras. So a camera like this X100, it does so much. I mean, it's a learning curve for me in the sense that even with my Canons, I do a lot of my work in fully manual mode. I even manually focus them. I've kind of learned not to trust the focus on the 5D because although it's decent, it seems to miss more often than it hits, or at least for my work. So I do a lot of things in manual exposure, manual focus. I take care of all of that. So there's a little bit of a learning curve to trust a camera to do some of the things that I'm asking it to do. So just a couple of initial thoughts when I got this camera initially. Compared to the Canon with the vertical grip on it, it is significantly smaller, which is part of the point. I want a camera that I can take anywhere I go very easily that will still produce a high quality, usable image. Now, one thing that right out of the box, this button right here, as soon as I picked it up, as soon as I grabbed it, I was hitting that button inadvertently. Now that could be a problem, that's gonna be an issue, but as soon as I started using it, I didn't seem to hit that as much anymore. So, I don't know, I'm still learning. I will tell you that the smaller camera, you know, to know where all these buttons are without having to look, you know, you just get your thumb, hit the button just automatically. There's a learning curve in that because I'm used to, you know, reaching differently on the Canons. And now I'm, you know, it's a smaller reach where those buttons are positioned, but that just comes over time. I have got no problem with where they put anything. It's just getting used to it is the issue. The other thing that's a little bit interesting to me is 23mm lens. 23mm lens on an APS-C size camera body is what I would consider kind of a mid-range wide-angle lens. Totally cool with that lens, don't have a problem with it at all. It's a little bit different than what I'm normally used to shooting with. And so, you know, I don't know about you guys, but when I put the camera up to my eye, I kind of already have a sense of where I need to be standing in relation to my subject. And so I found myself looking through here and going, ooh, I need to back up a little bit, or I need to get a little bit closer. Again, just gonna be a time issue as far as the more I use it, the more I'm gonna get used to that. But so far, I'm totally happy with the lens. It's in I got it in autofocus. I don't think I've seen it miss focus yet. Seems to be sharp as a tack. It's quick. at least in terms of what I'm asking it to do. I'm not shooting sports or some fast-moving thing. It's got a face detect where if you're photographing people, it'll like lock on their faces. I haven't tried that yet. I am interested in how that will work. But so far for me, the focus has been quick and it has been accurate. And I don't even think, well, I saw it get fooled one time when I was shooting through a window and it kept focusing on the window. There were scratches on the glass or something and it kept focusing on that rather than what was out. But I really can't fault it for that. I don't think that's a real problem. Okay, so one thing that's a little bit different, I've never owned a rangefinder camera ever. And by rangefinder, the lens is here, but you're viewing through here. They're not the same. Now there is the ability to turn it to EVF, which electronic viewfinder, which means when I look through here, I'm actually seeing what the lens sees, what it's projecting electronically. Now that's nice because you see exactly what it is and you can even see if it's under or overexposed. It'd be like just seeing what's on the back screen, but through here. The issue that I have with that, or my concern, is that that probably is going to take a whole lot more battery power to run that. And I'm thinking if I'm out all day long, I want the battery to last as long as it possibly can. So I'm trying to use the rangefinder, where I'm just looking through, I'm looking through here. And there's a little bit of compensation for that, but there's a white line through there and all's been well so far. I'm enjoying it. Now speaking of the battery and the battery life, my one significant negative thing about this camera at this point is that Fuji does not send a battery charger with the camera initially. You have to plug in the camera to charge the battery. I personally like taking the battery out, plugging it into a charger and letting it charge. I mean, that'd be my one biggest knock so far. Now that, to me, from a professional standpoint, I want to charge the batteries externally. That way one of them can be charging while another one is in here and I'm shooting. You know, if this battery that I'm shooting with goes down, I can just take the one that's already on the charger and go. To me, this is a professional camera. It's built that way. It's solid as a rock. It produces images that I would say are professional level, but maybe Fuji doesn't see it like that and thinks, you know, the serious amateur is totally happy with plugging their camera in to charge the battery. I'm not a big fan of that. I know you can buy an external charger for fairly inexpensive. That's probably on my list to do next. But at this moment, that's my only real knock on the camera. Another interesting point that I noticed initially is the sound of the shutter just sounds significantly different. And at first I thought it sounds kind of cheap, but then it's a leaf shutter. In other words, the shutter is in the lens. It's got leaf blades that when you take the photo, they completely open and completely shut. That is a huge advantage if you're going to use strobes with this camera because you can sync at any speed. But that strange sound that I was not used to, it sounds like the old leaf shutters that you would have like on a view camera. I don't know if you could hear that very well, but I'll point out, Dave Witt, if you're watching this, you're a view camera guy from way back. You know what that little leaf shutter sounds like. Now this is a tiny one. View cameras, you know, 4x5, 8x10 view cameras had much bigger lenses, so the blades were bigger. This is very quiet, but it sounds just like those old view cameras. So at first I thought, that sounds a little strange. Then I thought, actually it sounds really cool. Okay, so let's get down to the real business part of this camera, because I did not buy this camera just to have a fun camera to take anywhere I want. I bought this camera to make money as a stock photographer and to be able to produce high quality images anywhere I go. My first real attempt at that was my little trip to Denver that I took. I took it everywhere I went. I didn't take as many photos as I would have liked to, being in that opportunity, but I was there for other reasons, so I only had limited time. But I produced 10 images or so that I am going to send into the stock agencies this weekend. I'll show them to you here. The nice thing about it was these are raw images straight out of the camera with very minimal editing. A little bit of contrast, maybe a touch of clarity, but I really didn't pull sliders very much at all to create these images. Straight out of the camera, I was very impressed. And the file quality, the sharpness, the color, very impressed with all of it. Very happy with what they produced so far. Now, these images are very different than my normal stock shoots where I'm planning Typically I'm in the studio and I'm planning specific shots to do and creating specific stock images. Here I'm just taking it wherever I go and capturing whatever happens to be in front of me, hoping that has some value to be sold. So probably going to be a little different as far as that is concerned, but going to be sending those in this weekend, like I said, and we will see how they do. So for now, big thumbs up to the X100v. I'm liking it so far. It's everything that I was hoping it would be. I got a long ways to go to get through all this, all the things that it does and see how it works best for me. Next video, I'll talk about the settings that I did, because it does some cool things as far as settings are concerned that make life a little bit easier than just going fully manual, but still leaving a lot of control to do some manual things. So I'll talk about that more in the future. If you stuck around this long, I appreciate it. Like, subscribe, leave a comment if you can. Always love the thumbs up. Thanks so much for watching, guys. And I will see you very, very soon. We'll do another video next week. All right, guys, have a great weekend. Talk to you later.